Good evening. The state of the nation wasn't hard to discern before Wednesday. Well, the rising inflation on goods and fuel had the economy to live in and the buoyant government. While many decried the sharp rise in fuel and commodity prices, well, the president took the chance to explain that there were no quick solutions, relying on quiet diplomacy to ease global supply problems and the growing local production. But the president's solutions offer no short-term solutions and leave the public on the verge of an economic crisis. So tonight on The Sport, we talk to two seasoned governance experts, that is Godbatum Shabi and Sarah Birete, about the president's State of Nation address and what short solutions he could have offered. This is On The Sport. I'm Andrew Chamagedo, and you can be a part of this conversation on the digital platforms. The hashtag is NTV On The Sport. I'll pick your feedback a little later. Great to have you, Godba and Sarah. Sarah, you're looking amazing. Godba, I was telling her she has grown more young and more vibrant and steady. And on the spot tonight, we want to start off with a great way to...
You're trying to suggest that I have grown older and...
It depends on your context. But again, I want to congratulate you about your doctorate.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Thank
you. Starting off with what the president was saying, he started the address with a grand pronouncement that Uganda was now in the low middle income status. What does this mean in real terms of governance from your perspective?
You know, seasoned economists, including Nobel Prize winner Joseph Stiglitz, has said that GDP is a very misleading concept for determining...
To economies?
Yes, for determining the health of any economy.
Okay.
It does not indicate the actual incomes of the people, and neither does it indicate the wellness of the citizens. Many economists have said it's misleading and they need to have new metrics for measuring progress in the economy. But what is a national economy? And what stages should an economy go through for sustainable development? Rostow states down the 5 stages of national economic development. The first stage is the traditional society, where people are relying on rudimentary methods to have a living. The second is pre-takeoff stage. At pre-takeoff stage, you have a country relying on agriculture heavily. You have a country investing heavily in infrastructure, railways, pipelines, roads, schools, like mass education like USE and UPE. As well as a changing attitude to appreciate science. When you look at these characteristics, Uganda falls at stage 2 of national development of economies. We are beginning to appreciate science. We are beginning to, and indeed the president announced enhancement of salaries for scientists. They are now in the budget finally. He talked about the vaccine. So we are beginning to use technology and innovation, solve challenges of society. So we are at takeoff stage. And of course he mentioned infrastructure. The roads, we are doing roads. So when you have a nation that is 60 years, because we shall make 60 years of independence, self-rule, 60 years, if it was a human being, that is retirement age. But for those 60 years, we are still at takeoff stage as a country. But we also have a lot of vagueness when it comes to the structure of the economy. Because the structure of the economy should have 3 clear indicators: prosperity of local economies, employment, and competitiveness in the business area.
Are we never there of the 3?
No, but are they clear? Because did the statement mention, for example, employment? How many jobs have been created? We are emerging from the COVID lockdowns. People lost businesses. Entrepreneurs died. The private sector foundation has a report of about 50%.
SMEs that have closed.
Yes. So did we have a conversation about that? What is the status of local economies? What is the status of jobs? People lost jobs during lockdowns. People have continued to scale down. There was no conversation about that.
So
when it comes to competitiveness in the business area, what was the conversation? We had, yes, the conversation on coffee, the big conversation on value addition.
Which comes from 1986.
If you get President Museveni's speeches from 1986 to 1989,
yes,
what he edited was the growing capital of the West.
I hold you there just for a bit. Let me go to my coffee farmer, Godba. When the president said that some of us don't seem to understand what Pinetti Vinci company is actually doing, and that he advised Pinetti and said, you seem not to understand coffee, but please go and research and give me a report. And he says, unquote, when she came back to me, she seemed to understand coffee more. And I thought about, as a coffee farmer, I thought about, does the president really understand the entire dynamics? He said, all of us don't understand. He actually said, even Mama didn't understand the whole thing, but she has contacts. You, Godba, as besides governance, you're a coffee farmer.
Yeah.
Did this hit you as much as those who were hit on Twitter? They say that they can't afford life.
No, I think it has. The whole debate about coffee has been really hitting, and it has opened also some of us. It has opened our minds more.
Yeah, to the crop.
Yeah, because you see, Uganda adopted a coffee development strategy in 2012. We made a commitment, or government made a commitment and set a target to reach 20 million bags of coffee in exports by 2020.
Are we there yet?
In 2022, we are at about 7 million bags.
Oh.
And if you want to do comparisons, you can compare with Vietnam, which is a country that it's also a conflict country. It has been a conflict country like Uganda. Vietnam also almost sorted out its conflict around 1986, the way Uganda almost did at that time. Vietnam today exports about 20 million bags of coffee per year. So when the president talked about Pinetti and the coffee, for me it only confirmed my concerns that Pinetti is the front of the usual dealers in town.
Okay.
Because you see, there is a huge political economy around procurement in this country.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the biggest business in town.
Procurement and logistics.
Yes, procurement and logistics. Yeah. The fixers and the dealers.
They are in that docket.
They are in that docket, and I can tell you that they make a hell lot of money because they are in these projects.
They determine who
that are of interest. I think they act a lot in the roads and in the infrastructure sector, in roads and energy. Those are big projects of 400 billion, 600 billion. So they really hit big, and they make a lot of money incidentally. Now, to be fair, I would even say that I don't think that the president gets money from these deals. But what these fixers do is to get letters from the president directing and saying, Andrew Chamagelo is a good company. So he writes to the ED of Roads Authority. I'm actually directing. He doesn't even recommend. I'm directing.
Work with him.
That no. He said this road be given to Andrew Chamagelo.
That's how things are done.
Absolutely. The implication is that you then overprice your bid because you're not competing with anybody.
Of course.
So I see this coffee deal, the Vinci coffee, as in the same light, because remember, for many of us who are coffee farmers, we know for sure if you wanted to increase coffee production in Uganda today, there are very, very clear solutions that you can apply. Yeah? The value addition is really at the other side of the chain. So in other words, at the production level, you can do a couple of things. You can make sure that there are available quality seedlings. You can make sure that there are available inputs, especially fertilizers and manure. I can tell you from experience that in Ntungamo right now, the most expensive input in coffee is manure. The second most expensive input, which I have actually wanted to do, but I have failed, is irrigation.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. I have.
Doesn't government give some, facilities that cover?
No, you see, that's what I'm saying. That where I have tried to say, let me look for these opportunities here in microfinance support center. Then you go talk to the banks about the agriculture credit facility. You find that you hit a dead end. Yes, and this is real. I can tell you that I think I was sharing with a colleague today that for the first time, I have seen UDB put out a call for proposals that makes sense to me as a farmer.
Previously?
No, previously they would come up with all kinds of checklist of things, and it's like you are almost applying to go to heaven.
You're just a local farmer.
Yes, you're a local farmer. So I saw a call for, actually my colleague Moses Biarhanga shared with me that call for proposals, and I looked through it and I was like, this looks sensible. Yeah. Now I want to try. Because me, even when I'm a farmer, I'm a researcher. Yes. So I want to be able to work on the documentation and apply, because I would be interested in to see how long would it take, the turnaround. Yeah. How long would it take if you submit an application and your documentation is complete? How long does it take for Uganda Development Bank to process an application and either give you a yes or a no answer? That would be an area of interest. I guess the point I'm making is that as a country, I think that we joke too much. I think that there are very specific things that we can do as practitioners.
When you say we joke too much, you're taking all of us, all of us as a country, we joke too much. Who are the jokers? Even us, the citizens, are we jokers? Or those in the leadership?
No, I think that I have always argued time and again that the transformation of societies is a function of the quality of its leadership. Okay. Whether it's a nation, whether it's a company, whether it's a community, even the smallest unit of organization, by the way, as a family, the quality of leadership of that unit, of that organization, is going to determine how that particular organization thrives or progresses. Now, many people fear saying, oh, we have a failed leadership in this country. I think that for President Museveni, I would even excuse him, because my view is that he's a good leader past prime time. Yeah,
good.
He's a good leader past prime time, because you see,
prime time. When was he prime?
36 years. You're
making
power.
60 years as an independent country.
36 years, that's more than half of the years Uganda has been independent. And then when he comes to deliver the State of the Nation address or any address, he externalizes the problem.
Not internalized.
Yeah, he will tell you, the problem is my people, they are not doing the right things. He says, you see, Africans, you have been sleeping, as if he's not an African. And I'm like, but there must be something fundamentally wrong.
With us?
No,
with the governors? Even
with the president, by the way, because it takes humility for a leader like the president, and let alone a president who has had a huge impact like Museveni, to reach a point where he accepts and say, here, I think I have not done it right.
He has not done that before?
No, he doesn't. Because it's someone else who has done wrong.
My people.
My people they have not done right. The other, you remember even what he said on the Chinese,
yes,
the phosphate factory,
the Sokolo fertilizer.
He says, "Oh, these people, they store money from the Chinese."
Katonda Jali. I come back to you, Sarah, and those watching, please join us on Twitter. The hashtag is on the spot, NTV on the spot. We'll pick a few of your submissions about this. We come back to that fertilizer. The Chinese investor who was, you know, for lack of a better word, disappointed. And the president says that he has given up all these corruption kind of scandals to God. In governance, someone mandated with the power to mitigate, find solutions, apprehend and arrest those who are actually corrupt. And he says he knows them. And he does not arrest them because he does not have enough facts and leaves it up to God. As an expert of governance, how hard did this hit you? Maybe some of us didn't get it.
Or how does God come in?
We want to know.
You see, there has never been any serious commitment on the part of the government to fight corruption.
What do you mean? We have agencies, we have entities that have been put in place to fight corruption. We have the anti-corruption unit that is actually in the State House. We have the IGG. All these institutions are here. There is a political will for that, sir, at least.
I mean, where is the evidence that we have? Because either there is a certain group of people, you know, selective application of the laws. Certain group of people can go to court when they are suspected, whether there is enough evidence or not. But there are those where the president said, this problem, they came to me, they explained, I understood and forgave them. Let's just go by the previous State of Nation address. Start from the walking corruption out of Uganda. People went on the streets that they are walking and kicking corruption out of Uganda. After that, we had the new appointment of the IGG, and she came up with a lifestyle audit, a proposal to do a lifestyle audit on people who occupy public offices. And on the anti-corruption day, the president said, don't scare away, don't scare away money from Uganda.
Yeah. I will deal with them.
Don't scare away money. This money is in arcades, is in hotels, it is here. So you have, it is stolen from what it is supposed to do.
And it's invested in Uganda.
In arcades, and the president does not want people. That was an official global corruption day. And that was the statement from the president. You see, the president, he's the only individual whom the Constitution clarifies as first citizen, as chief executive, as fountain of honor, and president of the Republic of Uganda and commander of the defense forces. Those titles are not charitable. So if you have the fountain of honor saying, don't scare away money, and then in the previous State of Nation address, he said, I know where these people are. They hide in finance, and they steal money through procurement. I will come for them. And maybe, Andrew, it's important for the viewers to know that if you read the just previous State of Nation address and this one, they are just a few simple edits. They are almost similar. So it means that as a country, we are still at one spot, no movement. Except a little explanations, yes. So he said, I will deal with them. I'm coming for you. He
has already said he's going to deal with them.
Yeah, that was for 2021.
Yes.
So 2022, he comes. He demonstrates his resignation about this monster called corruption.
Give it to God.
I know the people who took the bribes. I know their names. I even know how much they took. But I could not prosecute.
He didn't have enough facts. That's what he said.
But then he has already demonstrated the facts.
So what does he know?
The crime of giving a bribe, it is evidence of a giver, the receiver, and the amount. And he says he knows them. So what else did he need?
Katonda Jali.
So we have given up on this monster and we have left it to God. that is the #1 citizen. So it's really a very big disappointment, especially given that we have skyrocketing public debt.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the debt. It's something extremely deep.
Yes.
But before we come to the debt, Godba, is the president right to say that we're getting closer to the middle income status, even with the 2 years lost in the COVID-19? Because it says that all those making noise are in Kampala, saying, oh, fuel prices, the ones in the villages are being fragile, they're living within their means, they're not, and he's saying that we're getting closer to the middle income status. You're a researcher, you've seen what is on the ground. Does the statement of the president meet what's on the ground?
I mean, if we take the conventional statistics, it's very easy to say we have reached per capita income of $1,300.
Those are misleading words.
$1,030 per capita. In other words, if Chamagero owns $47 billion.
That is an example, right?
Yeah, that's an example. We'll get Chamagero's money and divide by 42 million Ugandans, and we'll say each one of you guys have 1,000, including your children, and each one of you has $1,030. We have already entered middle income.
He said every Ugandan can actually now earn 3 million Ugandan shillings per annum.
So that is the easiest way to do it. But I think while it's okay, because I have not understood why countries and especially actually governments celebrate these kinds of things. You know, it's in other words saying, oh, we have entered middle income. I know that economically it makes sense because your ability to borrow,
but the reality
actually increases. But you need to look at the economy. I think that if you are leaders, you should be interested in what Sarah talked about, which we call the structure of the economy. How has the structure of the economy changed? Actually, the other way of looking at the structure of the economy is basically to look at it in terms of 4 transitions. The nature-based economy, which is basically reliant on it's reliant on God. The lack of nature. That you are lucky
as a country.
As a country, you are lucky if the rains do not turn up today.
That is a big if.
Yes, you are basically as good as screwed up. So from a nature-based economy, you go to the industrial economy. In other words, what that means is that the biggest percentage or the biggest proportion of your economy is coming from industrial production. But also it means that industry employs the bigger percentage of your labor force. So there you are beginning to see transitions. So even now, when we see progress being made in terms of the contribution of industry to GDP, we have to see, is the labor force moving? If the labor force is not moving, you're actually not achieving the structural transformation of that economy. From industry, ordinary economies become more service-based.
Oh.
Yes. So in other words, you begin to see the biggest proportion of GDP and employment coming from the services industry. So you're talking of telecoms, you're talking of insurance, health and education become more of services than social services. You are talking of banking. So those are the biggest percentage of the biggest proportion of GDP is coming from these sectors, but they're also employing more people. Right now, the biggest distortion in our economic structure today is that we have close to 50% of our GDP coming from the services industry, but it employs the least proportion of the labor force. The final transition of an economy is to become knowledge-based, the knowledge-based economy. The biggest percentage of your GDP comes from the production of knowledge. Knowledge economies employ the biggest proportion of the population.
Oh, yeah.
So in other words, you know, if today, if you wanted to buy an iPhone 13, you probably need about 2 cows.
About 2 cows.
To make about 7 million or 8 million there to buy an iPhone 14. I mean an iPhone 13. You may need, if you consider a bag of coffee, you may need about 20 bags of coffee to buy. You understand? Eh?
What an economy.
Yes, you understand.
Yeah.
So in other words, if I was president of this country, the guys who run this economy would probably not be sleeping.
Because you're in dark days.
Yes, because I would be looking at, tell me, how is this economy transforming in structural terms?
To the population.
Yeah,
Wow.
yes. How is the population moving? And by the way, when you go up country, one of the biggest challenges is that even our nature-based economy is becoming disrupted because we have failed to manage our environment.
Climate change.
Oh, yeah. Climate change is a big conversation.
So in other words, climate change, environmental degradation are beginning to have a huge impact on local economic production,
which will affect.
And yet we haven't organized our people to be able to transition from this nature-based economy.
Well, the conversation still proceeds. It's on the spot, and those on Twitter, I see a couple of you already on Twitter following this conversation. It's on the spot. We're trying to look through the entire conversation or the speech of the president when we were looking at the SONA just this week when he was making the speech. A couple of you don't seem to pay attention to all these statements, but in a state where we're leaving everything to God, we all need to sit down and start to find solutions as Ugandans. This is on the spot. I'll take a break for now and I will return shortly. On the spot, and we're live from Kampala Serena Conference Center. I'm Andrew Chamagiro, and tonight we're discussing the State of the Nation address the president just delivered this week. Brian Athere on Twitter says, Museveni has never been a good leader, according to Godba Tumushabe. Godba thinks that Museveni was a good leader in the 90s, and Brian says it's not true. I have Starboy Comrade, he says the conversation going on, we have a lot to do as a country. How do we buy an iPhone after selling 2 cows and 20 sacks of coffee? We are doomed. Keep the tweets coming and we'll actually dive a little bit more into it about the economy. Let's stay around the economy. The silver bullet of the president is the parish development model. Sarah, the president didn't talk about the soaring prices. In all that he said, he just confirmed one thing. He said, okay, Kereze, be frugal as a country. We need, he has no powers over these international supply and demand dynamics. The parish model is the magic bullet. What do you make of it?
Well, the parish model is the new slogan for the government.
It's a magic bullet.
After so many trials of Bonaba Gagawari, Tandikwa, Myoga, they have a lot of similarities. But for purposes of the viewer out there, the United Arab Emirates, which we all closely refer to, or commonly refer to as Dubai. Dubai is one of the Emirates, the 7 Emirates. It became a nation on December 21st, 1971. They are 50 years old.
We are making 60 as a country.
But they are the seventh highest economy globally.
What do they do that we don't?
They identified their niche. They are a desert. They only have oil deposits. And they effectively managed their oil to the extent that the indigenous people are given free accommodation, free everything, including allowances. the indigenous people who were in that country, because it is now a country of immigrants. They have just utilized that one resource to develop. Many Ugandans, I'm sure, many Ugandans, it's their first travel destination to import things, to see how the world moves. They have even a museum for the future, where they have forecast technology for the next 50 years.
Technology.
Yes. So they just capitalized on tourism, trade, and tax, leverage on taxes. That's why people import from there cheaply.
Than China.
Because they realized that they needed to attract high volumes of trade than making little money on taxes. So their triple T method has worked. And in 50 years, they have turned down, turned everything around. President Museveni has been in power for 36 years. He's still struggling with a magic bullet. That's how you define the parish
Yes, the parish model is a magic bullet. Why are you not patriotic, Sarah?
No. Why? No.
Have you understood?
I'm just giving a background. If it was a new president who assumed power in January last year, who won elections in January last year, you can announce a magic bullet. But we are talking of a 36-year president.
Who is working with the new, young generation, people who are having
to discover magic bullet.
To bring the magic bullet that this generation
Turn
will
around
need the
it.
parish
Okay, let's go into the parish.
Working with the fishermen and women.
Let's go into the parish.
You're very unpatriotic, Sarah.
No, but we shouldn't lose focus of our history and where we need to go as a country. Because if we lose focus of this comparison, then we shall not determine where we need to go and outsolve our challenges. So look at the parish model in line with the rising commodity prices. The only solution that this government has announced is that they must diversify and create production locally. And that means that we must produce, for example, the 40% grain that Africa imports from Ukraine. Africa should be able to build the capacities, including Uganda,
to meet the need.
Yes. But you go to the priority products at the parish development model, there is no sunflower, there is no wheat, there is no cereal. So how are we turning? How is it a magic bullet?
You seem not to believe all this.
No, but this is, go to the parish development model document. The priority products do not include replacements for the cereals and sunflower and cooking oil that we are importing, where there is a crisis. So how are we solving that problem, even if it is the long run? I don't see it. You go to the budget allocations. Where is the budget for sunflower? Where is the budget for palm oil? Where is it? Where are we making this intentional production to fill the importation gap?
We're leaving Frago. I come to you, Godba. What she's saying brings me to the public debt. As a country, this very week, there's been an outcry of the 2.5 billion close Ugandan shilling of the speaker and the deputy speaker cars at a time when the economy is limping, for lack of a better word. Let's talk about the extravagance vis-a-vis the public debt as a country. The president didn't address this, and he didn't come out to hit it so hard. The expectations of us, the Wananchi, was that he's going to say, okay, we're all living in Frago, we're actually not going to procure this, we're going to stop some procurement. That was started of these expenditures for purposes of the country holding tight in these hard times. In your lens, the government public debt, vis-a-vis the government extravagancy, are we seeing better days ahead?
No, but you see, you need to go back to again to these addresses that the president makes. The president has made these addresses more, someone called them conversational. He's made them more basic. In other words, I come and tell.
He's a storyteller of late.
No, yeah. So if you look at that speech now, because I read these speeches as part of my research work, in this last address, if you read you read it and reread it, you realize that close to 3/4 of that speech was explaining failure. In other words,
Failure.
yes.
Of one full year.
No, of the last, you can say the last 36 years, but you can also extrapolate it to the last 60 years. So in other words, you're saying, you are explaining that we have not added value to our natural resources, whether it's minerals, whether it's timber, it's whatever. You are explaining that we've not added value to our coffee. Yeah? You are not explaining the progress. You're explaining that we have not. So then you have to start scampering. After 36 years in power, you're almost struggling to do things that you have failed to do in 36 years.
In a panic mode.
Yeah, so it's like you're operating in a panic mode, and that's why then you begin to look for these strange people and say, can you do this for me? So, so I think you need to start from there. The secondly, the debt per se is not a bad thing, because almost each one of us, even at an individual level, you borrow. You have a debt. The question is, where do you borrow from?
And at what time do you have to post?
At what time do you have to borrow? How do you manage your borrowing? That you can remain disciplined
financially.
In all forms, by the way, because you can be disciplined financially, but you fail on other things, you will still fail to service that debt. So you borrow, you are disciplined, you try to make sure that your debt is serviced. So in that context, debt is not a problem, because I believe that many countries, including Uganda, they have to borrow to be able to move out of their current situation. The problem is when you have a deeply indisciplined government like ours.
How is it indisciplined?
No, it's indisciplined in a number of ways. Like? One is that it has a very inefficient political and technocratic bureaucracy. Yeah, the bloatedness of our political structure, for example, is a huge drain on the economy, on the country. You know, you can, in most cases, you realize that when you have many people doing the same job, you have created inefficiencies. These are called structural inefficiencies.
Duplication.
In fact, even if you had the will to improve, you cannot improve, because the inefficiencies are structural. You cannot have a parliament of that we have and expect an efficient system of legislation, of oversight in that parliament.
What do you mean? Our parliament is so below the belt? Is it a sham? Is it what?
I mean, almost every study that has been conducted, there is nobody who has disputed it, that the quality of Uganda's parliament has deteriorated since 1996. Since the first parliament under the constitution has deteriorated consistently, and the deterioration has gone hand in hand with the size. So, the legislature. I can tell you the other important thing, and the president never talks about this, and yet it's important. The governance of this country, the economic structure of this country is supposed to be based on a decentralized system of government. Now, the president and the local politicians have conspired to distort the entire decentralization process.
How?
That today, you have all these districts that look like villages. Each
After
one
10
of
miles you find another district.
each one of them. I remember I always tell people in eastern Uganda, there's a certain place where in a space of 20 minutes, you cross 5 districts. No, you close
20 minutes?
Yes. You close 5 districts.
Driving at what speed?
No, you don't have to drive at speed.
20 minutes, 5 districts?
I'm telling you. And because you see, I have, I track one of my...
Can we use facts on this show?
No, let me tell you. one of my best pieces of research that I like is that I have been running a creation of districts map of Uganda.
Oh.
Yes, I run it. So every time there is a creation of new districts, I go and revise the map.
update.
I have my technical people. So you click there, then it shows you how the districts have been split since 1962, how they have been split. And when you reach to eastern Uganda,
20 minutes, 5 districts.
yeah, they are done. You can, by the way, you can see the concentration of the districtization on that map alone. You can see it. Yeah. So in other words, you have created inefficiencies, structure inefficiencies in these districts. You can go on and on and on. So the debt, while we are borrowing to run our political bureaucracy, to run our local government bureaucracy. So the money that we are putting in infrastructure, which is really a good thing, the investments in roads, in energy, in other, this is very good. And I think if we are to give government and President Museveni credit, it's that consistency.
With
we need to invest in infrastructure. But you see, infrastructure, without corresponding investments in production, you are not optimizing your investment. I know there's one country, Thailand. Thailand, the literature shows that in Thailand, you can't design a road without designing an economic system along that road.
Yeah, the economic benefit.
Yes. So you design a road, the financing for the road must include investments in ensuring that the people around that ecosystem are able to produce and use the road. But you see, in like now, in even in our oil roads, we have these people who normally produce pictures of these roads. You see a road that where you can just go and sleep.
The artistic impression.
No, these are roads that have been completed by the way.
There is one where they put
to the credit of government.
And serious and to dry them.
So in other words, so they bring these pictures of these roads and say, but how can a whole stretch of a road, it doesn't even have one car?
And you see, the president said it is not his problem. It is us, the Ugandans, who should become much more productive and use the road. So he has constructed the road for you.
But you see,
will he be the one again to come and change your mindset on doing something?
The government must be intentional in encouraging production and productivity of the citizenry.
But he has done that.
It is not that who is may
what?
concern kind of approach.
So, Godba, you think the government or the leadership of this country...
let me tell you, when you analyze district budgets, you actually begin to see the nature of the crisis. So in a district, when you look at its budget structure, you'll find that about 46% of its budget is spent on education.
That's true.
The implication is that the bulk of that money is going to pay teachers. You'll find that another about 40% is spent on health. That means you are spending money paying health workers.
But they keep striking, though.
Yeah, they keep striking. Then there is another proportion of about 15. No, actually, it doesn't go to 15. About 10 that goes to water. So in other words, at the end of the day, you realize that close to 85% or even 90% of the district budget is investing in the provision of public services.
That's true.
Then you ask yourself, but where is the development budget? If you are run a district, if you are in your district, the chairman or the council of your district, at what point do they sit down and say, we need to develop the economy of our district, and these are the investments we need to make? And that takes me to your parish development model. I think part of the problem that we have experienced in this country is this supply-driven development. Everybody thinks that development is delivered from Kampala.
And
handed over to local people there. So we are seated here designing a parish development model.
So it's going to be a forceful feeding.
We are saying, oh, you guys at the parish, we expect you to organize like this to do the following things. I have argued with many people in the policy circles. I've said, why don't we structure our economy based on these regions
So each region has a different approach.
No, each region should have money,
To develop
which
itself.
the central government challenges them and say, tell us, Ankore, what is your economic structure? What are you investing in? If it is livestock, how much milk are you giving us
As a country.
As a country. If it is coffee, how much are you giving us? The mere fact that we come and throw around the statistics and say milk production has increased, and we cannot account for where is the increase. You could easily find that most of this milk is coming from Ankore, and yet we know we have other livestock economies like Teso and others. If we were able to be targeted in terms of because these regions, in my view, should be the pillars of our economy. So I need to look at these pillars and say, in Karamoja, what are we producing? We have this. How much are we monetizing this economy? In Teso, what do we have there? In Bunyoro, what do we have? And then we begin to say, where is the source of GDP of Uganda?
From all the regions.
Yes, but when we say, our GDP has increased, it could even just be here in Kampala. it could be the triangle, the Kampala, Mukono, and Entebbe triangle. And that's your GDP.
Sarah, I come back to you. And those on Twitter, by the way, thank you so much for the tweets. We're going to read a couple of those. And later, we'll open up our lines and you'll call in and be a part of the conversation. Sarah, we have NADS, we have Imyoga. We have...
But you were saying you want a silver bullet. Those are many bullets.
No. Now, the other one is a silver bullet. The parish development model is a silver bullet. But then we have the NADS. We have the Operation Wealth Creation. We have Emioga. And oftentimes, these have been in the media for mismanagement. From your perspective, how do we find functioning solutions to make these work?
You know, first of all, you don't need all of those.
What do we need then?
Things. Previously, before NRM, we had a more structured economy.
Before NRM?
Yes. I know 80% of the population do not know any other life outside beyond before NRM. But we had a more structured economy. With the regions, like Godba was saying, where regions were producing based on their comparative advantage. You had a...
We also needed, we studied them in P3.
Yes.
Like livestock farming in Teso, coffee growing in Ankara and Buganda,
the cooperatives
tobacco growing in Western Nile. You know, they were known.
Copper in Kasese. And the infrastructure was developed based on the economic productivity of the areas. And that's what took the railway to Kasese. So then there was a clear supply chain through cooperatives that would receive this produce, control the measures. Now we are being chased out of East African community for substandard goods because of quality control, which the cooperatives would do. They also had buffer stock measures in the case of surplus, because the president mentioned that we have surplus milk, but we have malnourished children all over the country, including famine in Karamoja. So why don't you get, but you see, what is the role of government? Why don't
make
you
it as
ensure
much more affordable to our citizens?
There is a crisis in Karamoja, there is insecurity, there is starvation, there is hunger. So if you have a surplus, why don't you come in and take this surplus to where there is need? So they would take care of the buffer stocks and price stabilization.
All these were structures by the government.
Yes. So NRM comes, including the coffee now that has really value addition that has defeated NRM for 36 years. We had the coffee marketing board.
You failed the government, good, but you had
the government failed me.
No, we had the coffee marketing board with the coffee processing plant in Ugorobi that has been destroyed and is rotting away. First turned into a tailoring press for Agoa. So we had all this infrastructure as a country. Coffee marketing board, lint marketing board. I don't know what else. I was also a child. So, and the economies were working for the people. From 1993, our economy has had a permanent trade deficit. we have failed to balance our trade. We import more than we export. And of course, what we import, the value, like the president said, and that's what he said in the 80s, as I had said, value addition, so that we earn more, make our products valuable. But we have failed. So this infrastructure was all thrown out. And we said we are privatizing, we are abandoned some of these things to rot away. Today we come and we say, where do we start from? The world is earning more money, 460, but we had a foundation as a country that was destroyed. Can we put back that infrastructure? Instead of bringing in artificial people, is sheep in it? She didn't know anything about coffee. I thought that, but why did you destroy Coffee Marketing Board? Yes.
Maybe the times were changing and the governance maybe thought it was wise to change with the changing tides. Is it indeed good for a country to evolve as well?
Evolve in the negative or positive?
That would take us for a break, but the conversation is still ongoing. Those on Twitter, I want to read a couple of messages that are coming through. Many of you are saying that this conversation is long overdue. I really want to thank you. Newton Carrera says only full of individuals thinking of themselves, allowances, lead cars and all. We're going to talk more about the extravagancy when it gets to that. Someone here says that Iganga Tumbale, it's 100 kilometers and you go through over 4 districts. Comrades, let's take a break. This is NTV on the spot. I'm Andrew Chamagero, and when we return, you could possibly give us a call and be a part of the conversation. Great to have you tonight. It's still on the spot. I'm Andrew Chamagero, and we're live from Kampala's Rona Conference Center. Many of you who are part of the conversation on Twitter, this is the time that you join us. I'll read a couple of messages. Dr. Robert Robinson Lubega on Twitter says, God, but thanks for the submission. And someone here says that this is Muzukuru Wachint on Twitter says, sorry, making very valid points. And one of senior citizens in this country sent me a message saying that those pillars they have talked about as per the region with terms of economics, it's what made me rich. Here I am today. I'm a broke, hopeless Ugandan. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Doctors watching this from Cuba and your Ugandans, I really want to thank you. Your messages are warming our hearts while we are having this conversation. We are having doctors in Cuba, they're part of the conversation. And you can give us a call. The number is on the, let's have the number on the screen. Give us a call and be a part of this conversation. How do we fix this as a country? Because, comrades, we are not going to lament again and again. We need to find solutions. In all this, as we're finding the callers coming through, Sarah, what do we need to fix? And was there a State of Nation address? With your lenses, was the president having a conversation with us, you know, casually like Godba said, or did he address the pain points of the citizens?
You see, a State of Nation address is a constitutional obligation. It's an accountability of the executive.
Uhuru gave us
for
9
the
years.
previous year.
Yeah.
What were the targets in the previous year? What did you achieve? What failed? What still needs to be worked on? And then you set a projection, or you set your agenda for the coming year that is in line with the budget. And the measures you are going to take to achieve your focus for the next year. If you look at, and that should be an accountability on the social, economic, and political status of the country. So if you look at the issues that the president talked about, he talked about the economy, but in more really vague terms. Because if you are giving an accountability on the economy, how many, and we are coming out of COVID lockdowns,
2 years.
People lost incomes, people spent 2 years at home, sectors are under lockdown. So you should start by saying that as much as you put lockdowns to mitigate the spread of COVID pandemic and save lives, this is what happened. The effect of lockdowns on the economy was this, and this is how the recovery is
we are progressing, yeah.
On the side of jobs, how many jobs have been created? How many jobs do you project to create? And in what sectors? And what interventions are you doing?
You didn't hear none of that.
On the side of the public debt,
Yes.
previously, like 5 years ago, the president used to promise Ugandans, so now he's going to stop donor dependence. And he would say, we are going to fund more than 60%
of our budget.
He has now lost that stamina because we are funding. In the current budget, we are funding 40%.
Yeah.
And the 60% is going to be shopped around with the loans, with the donations. So he has now left that conversation of the decolonization rhythm and the foreign agents. So now we are we are making an extravagant budget, but also that we cannot fund. Because out of the 47.1 trillion, URI, if it's very lucky, can only generate 20 trillion.
That's a very big lucky.
Yes, if they are lucky. Because so there was an accountability on that line. If it comes to science, technology, or ICT, what were the pronouncements? I did not see any. I did not. So the accountability on the economy was not even full. Come to the social and political, education, health, rule of law, status of rule of law in the country, status of governance, and of course we have a high administrative bill, bloated administrative bill that we keep increasing every day with useless appointments. You know, the political patronage that is burdening.
What do you mean by useless appointments? Decentralization, service delivery to the wananchi, to the last mile.
This is patronage.
You see, we have, for example, the size of parliament. And I've been challenging MPs that even when they have nowhere to sit, before the term ends, they will create new constituencies. Why do we?
The law allows it, though.
I know, but so what? So where will they go? They need to shift to Nambore, maybe. So every time
they are building,
they create. Even if they build, they will not see. They will not fit. So you are creating these multiple constituencies. We do not even have a measure of how many people an MP should represent. We do not have any criteria in place. And because we are surviving on patronage, so if a constituency is opposition, you divide it into 3 areas to make sure there is NRM. Central. Yes, to cover out to areas that NRM can win. And then we have a full stadium parliament that we cannot even sustain. Then, of course, the priorities, including, for example, parliament and the procurement of luxurious vehicles at inflated prices at the time. And citizens should be aware that World Bank has released the recent report, and they are predicting a recession. And all East African countries are on the red mark for a recession. And here we are spending extravagantly on things that are not necessities in a strained economy. Our lending is outside our commitment in the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility. We are at 53.4. Our inflation has risen to 6.7. The recent report from the Bureau of Statistics.
Very disappointing.
Yes.
I don't want to get into it.
I know. No, but we must discuss this. This is our country.
We need to. These are uncomfortable conversations for the country.
Connected to the national grid. Previously, it was 22%. We have gone back to 19%. So 3% have dropped, stopped using electricity. When you go to people living below poverty line, we have now increased from 80 million to 12.3 million. And 1 in 5 Ugandans cannot make 6,000 a day.
Right there. We have a caller calling in on the spot tonight. Hello, and where are you calling from? Okay, I think we lost that one. Godba, what she's talking, these are painful points, but these are conversations we need to talk about. When we talk about the spending of this country, the speaker, everywhere she goes, she gives money. Donations.
Now she has changed the currency.
The other day, now she's in dollars.
And the Prime Minister, I think.
And the Prime Minister. Is that the rightful structure of, giving out handouts? We have a caller before you come in. Hello? Hello, who are you? Hello? Oh, no, we've lost the caller. But good, but let's dive into this.
No, you see, again, it's, I said earlier, really, you can never transform society if you are indisciplined. Society transforms.
Oh, we have one here. Hello?
Yes, hello?
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Kiwewa Haman, and I'm calling from Kivari, Kochilaka district.
Okay.
Well, my concern is about the Widows Day today. Is it okay, sir?
Yes.
I see so many people have been given medals, but so many other people, the fighters, are in these villages, down this way, suffering. They have not been appreciated, and they did a lot of work. I think they deserve to be heroes, and they need to be appreciated. Thank you for the show.
Thank you so much. That is concerned about the medals. We have another caller. Okay, that one was about the medals. We'll wrap it up when we're ending. Let's talk about the spending.
No, so I was saying, Andrew, that really as a country, I think we lack discipline at the different levels of government. And by the way, I have argued that I could be wrong. I have argued that the level of brokenness in this country, the brokenness in terms of public service delivery, the brokenness in terms of the economy, the dysfunctions within the economy, but more so, the brokenness in terms of the politics, the brokenness in citizenship. Because you see, countries and societies, countries are organized around citizens' formations. Yeah, you know, they are economic formations. You know, people organize economically. They are religious formations. In this country, the president keeps on ostracizing all these groups. Then those of us who organize ethnically, the president and other people call it tribalism.
Sectarian too.
Yeah, he calls them sectarianism. So in other words, you are sectarian if you call yourself Munyankole. Or you are sectarian if you say I'm Muganda. And I think it's wrong. It's also deceptive. Because I don't think that being a Munyankole makes me less of a Ugandan.
You're still a Ugandan.
Yes.
We have a caller. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Mbarara.
Your name?
My name is Dan.
Okay.
I'm calling from Mbarara. My name is Dan.
Okay, Dan, your question?
Yes, thanks for the discussion. It's an observation.
We can hear you, but you kindly reduce the volume of your TV because you're hearing yourself, so you have an echo and there is a lag there then.
Am I okay now?
Yes, you're fine. Carry on.
Okay. So I need to observe that in as long as we don't have the three pillars, one is the knowledge pillar, which should be assessed from the universities, linked to industry, which buys that knowledge. And then the government, what the implementer, so that the three are linked. We cannot go very far. Because now we don't have, for example, a lot of the university knowledge, but not a link to government production. So if we take a example, of COVID vaccine. These were not produced by industry. The knowledge came from the university. It went to industry, and now government are making money. So in Uganda, there is no connection between university, government, and industry. And that is very important. Good.
Thank you.
Welcome.
That is Dan in Mbarara. For him, he feels some things are working, regardless.
Now, I was basically trying to complete that point, Andrew, that we are at a level of brokenness where you can only fix things from the top. There is a clip that goes...
So the structures don't work anymore?
No, they don't. There is a clip by one of the religious leaders, I think from Bushain, who says everything is broken. The only thing he didn't mention is that the church is also broken. So when you reach those levels of brokenness, you need a leader that then that takes a different approaches to inspire people. Yeah?
He can't inspire them anymore?
No, the president, you see, is, as I've said, the president has externalized the problem.
Okay.
So he is not part of the problem.
No, we are the problem.
Yeah, you are the problem. You are the problem. You, his people. You are not. He has been telling you.
You're not doing what he's telling you.
Yes, exactly. He keeps on telling you. You have. You cannot add him. You are not doing what he's telling you. So that's no, but what I'm saying, because that's what he's telling you. He has been trying to wake up Africans since 1960. They have refused to wake up. They have. So in other words, because you see, that's one of the things I've been saying, that the state of the nation address. The reason it is also structured, that it is not only supposed to tell you what the state of the nation is, what the future agenda is, it's also supposed to inspire people
to work further.
You know, you basically deliver it in such a way that you are able to demonstrate the opportunities of the moment, but more importantly, the possibilities of the future.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have another caller. Hello. Hello, NTV.
Hello.
Yes, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is David. Okay.
Carry on.
My question is about how the president uses the money. Because imagine an MP is spending more than 15 million, and you're crying that.
Oh dear.
Sorry,
we just lost him, but he was alluding to the same issue we're trying to talk about, the dishing out of the money.
It's the indiscipline.
Indiscipline
as a country, we've become so indisciplined.
The speaker now spends in dollars.
Yeah, we've become so indisciplined.
$10,000.
And because
church.
And you see that indiscipline comes from the leadership.
Hey.
Because you see, if you are the president and then every time you are carrying trillions of money in consolidated fund.
Maybe when I have a structure that money has to go to people's accounts, it never reaches. So the president says, let me go the rudimentary way. I work with my cash. We have a caller. NTV, hello? Hello? Yes, hello. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm called Jamal. I'm calling from Kampala.
Yes.
I would want to ask that gentleman over there.
But, yes.
You know, we keep on talking about government expenditure. I guess the government expenditure has a problem.
Yeah.
But how I wish you would talk more about the foreign domination of our economy in all the big sectors. Basically, Ugandans, we've been left to deal in the little trading, the importation, chikubo and the likes. Maybe the only sector you would say Ugandans are in is maybe schools. But every big, call it banks, call it telecom, call it, look at all the big, it's foreigners. Now, how I wish you talk so much about that. Then also talk about the high interest rates, of course, charged by predominantly the foreign banks. Talk about the high taxes by the government. I think it goes into the high public expenditure that you're talking about. How I wish we emphasize so much on that, because many times we keep on I look at Godpa, I look at even all these opposition people you keep on bringing to the studios, talking about corruption. However, if I dig deeper, I don't think corruption, even if you were to eliminate it 100%, would directly put money into my pocket. What I want is you to talk about something that will put money directly into my pocket, like the big address.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good, but I think he has a point. When we talk about taxes, Sarah alluded to that a little bit earlier on how URA with a big lucky per se, if they're going to thrive over that. But he raises a very pertinent issue about the foreign domination. The only bank we have as Ugandans that is Ugandan, I think we have only Post Bank and Housing Finance Bank. If I'm not wrong.
There's Centenary Bank.
And Centenary Bank. Yes, but the rest are foreign. And this actually comes into the question of the foreign dominancy. But the president says these are investors. You don't send away that money. How do you balance that, Sarah?
You know, we have maybe good intentions about attracting foreign direct investments. And we have laws which are normally not followed, like we see recently in the botched Vinci deal, giving subsidies, that included irregularities. But we want to thank Parliament for rectifying. That
maybe for attempting.
Yeah, but at least they cancelled that.
But the president said that they will need to hear more from what he has to say after the report Pinetti gave.
We should report.
What to report it.
You see, an investor.
We have given that investor.
The local language term for an investor is Musigansimbi.
Musigansimbi, yes. Who should come with his
or her
money?
An investor should come with money. And then what we need to do is an enabling environment
for him to
for
thrive.
them to seed this money in the country. Yes. But what kind of investor is Pinetti? Because even for the hospital where she was specialized, she's using taxpayers' money. The Ugandans are the investors. So is she Musigansimbi or a broke? So and majority of the investors are of that nature, which is very troubling. Can we have real investors, as in Musigansimbi or Musigansimbi, so that we attract? But so if the purpose is to attract foreign direct investment, what investment did you attract in Urubo that does not exist? We are giving the Ugandan money, spending money here. And I'm sure even that coffee deal, other than giving her under that she was now mortgaging, we are also the Musigansimbi. She was attempting to mortgage to get a loan. We remain the Musigansimbi. So these investors that do not have money to seed in our country
should not show up.
Should not be called investors because that is fraudulent.
But Godba, the gentleman had a very pertinent issue there.
A very powerful point that he made. I think that for me, the reason we keep on going back to public administration expenditure, the bloated public administration, the corruption,
the bureaucracy.
For me, it's like these are they are the cancer
to the
that diminish the ability of government to make the kinds of intervention you need to make in the right segments of the economy. So in other words, if you are spending all your money running this political bureaucracy, and because you have built the bureaucracy, I can imagine you've seen President Museveni in cabinet meetings. He sits there and the other guys are seated there. It's like a classroom. You have a teacher with and students. I've seen them. They bring those pictures.
Yes.
Government, you know, cabinet is like a board. This is a board of a company. Or even small organizations like Sarah and I run, they have boards. You sit on a round table and talk business. You can't talk business in a cabinet of 80 people.
Why?
You can't. It's just practically impossible.
It's a
Forceful feeding directives,
crowd.
this is what we're going to do.
It's a crowd. There is too much noise. Because even, just imagine, even when we organize...
But do they speak? Or they
Even when we organize
They
ordinary
speak,
workshops,
Sarah.
they probably
Just
do.
speak.
Even when we organize ordinary workshops,
Yeah.
you are always measuring and say 40, 30. You know, what is the reasonable number of people that,
We can have a
that allows
conversation,
a
a
conversation that is business-like? Yeah? So in other words, I don't see a cabinet of 80 ministers sitting to discuss interest rates. I don't see a cabinet of 80 ministers sitting to discuss the economy. So while our colleague makes a fundamental point of what is our level of participation in the economy,
Yeah.
I think that the government has been so disabled by these structural inefficiencies that it is not able to think and act business-like.
Oh,
Yes.
affecting the entire ecosystem.
It affects the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, I hear
because I think that there are very clear options. We are not the first country. We are not the only country in the world.
And those are the options.
I can tell you, just as an example, when I was just supporting some of the government agencies to develop a national cotton, textiles, and apparel strategy, which we finished around March this year. One of the things that struck me as I did the reading and the literature around this, someone was writing about the Kenyan textile and apparel industry. And basically the person says the heads of state of the East African community went to Arusha and declared that they were going to start phasing out second-hand clothes.
Yeah, they did. They said that.
They started working on this. So this guy was writing and saying, when Uhuru went to Kenya, he called the business community in Kenya and said, here is a business opportunity. You tell us, what do you want government to do for you?
To enable you.
To tap this opportunity. Today, Kenya is one of the leading producers or manufacturers and exporters of textiles and apparel. I think it's now like either second after Ethiopia.
Yeah.
The competing in the region is Kenya, Ethiopia, and Tanzania.
And us?
Most likely, in Uganda, actually, we sell them our cotton. The one thing that we do is that to write that Uganda produces one of the best cotton
but we can't
varieties.
produce it and process it here.
Yes, so I'm hoping that the strategy that we worked on, that government can just can just be robust and go in there and just say, let's make the ecosystem work.
Well done. We have another caller. Hello. Hello, NTV. Hello. Yes. What's your name?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, what's your
Good
name?
evening, I'm Moses. I'm Moses.
Yes, Moses.
I'm calling from Kampala. I wanted the panelists to help me understand. Processing oranges and processing beef, which one is more profitable? Because I think we had a meat packers in the Eastern that was abandoned. And we went in for lemons. I don't know whether lemons are more profitable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See, this is how Ugandans are. We're trying to find solutions. And you're a farmer and you're an economist and a researcher. No, you're a researcher and a farmer.
Yes, that's
Kindly help a farmer who is on the other side processing oranges, value addition to it, and processing meat. What works better?
No, I think I wouldn't really. I really wouldn't do.
We have a caller line. Hello.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
AB from Port Porto. Yeah, just want to understand the economics of maximum price and minimum price in regard to our current prices in the country, vis-a-vis the commodity prices. When does the government come to secure its citizens such a space? we try to understand that we do not have the purposes of national address not to regulate on such issues.
Okay.
Gone were the days when we will hear that we are going to have the national speech, and you will hear there's patiently waiting to hear what commodity prices are going to be regulated and which one will not be regulated. But nowadays, it looks like President Pitt is just picked from the archive. He does not really entirely talk about such things.
Thank you.
What do you make of that, Oliver and Sarah? Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're still responding to the
let me just pick the first point of the colleague from, I think, Tororo.
Yeah, from Toronto.
Yeah. So, no, so I wouldn't. Yeah. So I wouldn't really try the comparison, because you see, you are talking about different crops, different products. No, sorry, different products. So they have different models. So if I'm designing a business that is focused on livestock and beef, or beef production or livestock production, those have their business models. You can create your value chains, and along the value chains, you know where you can be able to make money depending on your assessment of the market. So I wouldn't say, oh, this one is better than the fruit production. If Teso has a significant advantage in producing fruits, I mean, fruits is food. Almost at a general level, almost everybody who deals in food is able to make money, because there are certain things that in terms of in life, there are certain things that you need. I think some of them are called the basic needs of life.
Basic needs of life, yes.
So food and health, if you're investing in healthcare, you are likely definitely to make money, because people will always fall sick. If you're investing in food, you are likely to make money because people will definitely have to eat. So I think what I would say to the colleague is to say, think of the business model that you are doing.
And works for you.
Yes, I have been working on my coffee business model. And I say, okay, I know there are many players in this industry.
But what is my niche?
Yes. How do I create value and create and differentiate my product from what everybody is doing? Unlike many of the people who are doing coffee farming in Ntungamo, may have said, I will intercrop my coffee with gonja.
We'll come right to that a little later. That's the value addition.
It's a business model.
But it actually works for you.
It works because the coffee is just starting to produce, but the gonja have been harvesting. And remember, when I carry my gonja here, in Ntungamo, someone will come and want to give you a bunch of gonja, 5,000, 6,000. When I carry that gonja to Kampala, I sell a cluster at 8,000 shillings.
That's a heavy economy.
Yeah.
Sarah, what are your parting shots as we're winding this conversation tonight? How do we fix this in 1 minute?
So I think we need to maybe call it soul searching, because if something does not work, if it is broken, you don't fix it. We keep doing the same thing. They keep yielding same results. We have produced greater inequality. Our inequality is at 0.41 coefficient. That means that the gap between the rich and the poor is increasing. We have slower growth. We have less competition, including like things like the monopoly that was created around that venture agreement, and less innovation. An economy cannot grow with these symptoms. So we need to overhaul what interventions we think we are doing, assess our structure of the economy, be clear about our comparative advantage, and see how to ignite productivity in a nation for people's incomes to grow.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah Birete. Thank you so much, Godbert Mushabe, and you, the great viewer. From wherever you've been watching this, the conversation goes back to all of us as Ugandans. What are you doing for your country to make sure that you add the value? And to the powers that be, the ideas that have been shared here, take a leaf. You may not have had everything, but take a leaf and let's find lasting solutions for our country. I'm Andrew Chamagin, and have a lovely night.